Welcome back to MMA Oddsbreaker. This is Before the Bell. That's Dick Kalikas. I'm Frank Trigg. This week, we get to talk about the Ultimate Fighter TUF finale, Jacek versus Claudia. This is an interesting fight. A lot of drama came out of this. A lot of the other female fighters in the same weight class were talking about how much of a bully Joanna is, but was it editing? Is it really that way? Like, we don't really know. But we got to talk about Pearson and Brooks beforehand. Will Brooks finally makes a jump over from Bellator, was their champ over there. They didn't want to renegotiate with him. He was kind of on the shelf. Wasn't really sure he was going to go. Gets a last-minute phone call, and they bring him in. Short notice, not last minute, but short notice for this fight against Pearson. How do you see this one breaking down with Will Brooks wanting to be here, but not getting the chance to be here yet?
I'm glad to see him come over, and get his opportunity for sure, because he is one of the best lightweights in the world. There's no question about that. I mean, his grinding style, he's improving on the feet consistently. I mean, he's working hard. His cardio's pretty good as well. He's a force to deal with, and I think stylistically, matching up here with Ross Pearson, it's going to be a problem fight for Pearson. I mean, just the way that it's going to probably go down. And that's why you're seeing actually Brooks come in as a decent favorite. He's minus 360 at 5 dimes, and the comeback on Pearson is plus 300. So almost a 4-1 favorite. And he was actually up at 4-1 at one point. Public supporting a little bit more coming in on Pearson at the high dog price, because Pearson is a quality fighter. I mean, let's not forget that. He's definitely a stud, and he's got some quality wins on his resume. But, I mean, what the problem's been with Pearson in the past, I mean, look at the Dunham fight. That type of wrestler, that type of guy that can kind of grind him out a little bit. Brooks is that, and maybe more right now than obviously Evan Dunham. So I think it's going to be a similar fight, the similar kind of game plan for Will Brooks. And then on the feet, it'll probably be competitive as well. I mean, obviously you got to give the edge to Pearson if it stays up, but I think Brooks will at least stay active enough to make it interesting on the feet. But he will go for those takedowns, try to get the finish on the ground, try to grind him out.
Yeah, I really like this matchup for Will Brooks, and it's a great first fight in the UFC, and a way to get through that UFC drama and what happens in the open workouts and all the extra media and all the extra fans in the stands. Like, this is, it's a good fight for him to get behind it. Like you said, if it stays on the feet, Ross wins this one not easily, but he can pull out a decision victory if he keeps it there. But we all know Will's not going to do that. He'll come in and strike a little bit, immediately get inside, look for a takedown. If he can't look for a takedown, he'll grab him against the cage. And this is what he does. With the price that it is now, though, are you going to lay money on Will?
Probably not. It is tempting, though, as the price drops. It is, because, like I said, I think, obviously Pearson can knock Brooks out. I don't trust Pearson's chin fully, though. I mean, it's pretty, it's okay. It's maybe not as bad as we all sometimes make it out to be, Pearson, because he's been knocked out a few times. He's a tough guy. His defense actually isn't that bad, but punches and kicks do get through, so that is a concern. Pearson has been knocked out before, even though Brooks isn't really the striker. He's got enough power that he could possibly KO Pearson as well. But I think that it's more tempting to bet the Brooks line. I mean, throw him in a parlay. If there's value either way, straight bet or parlay, obviously. So it is tempting. If it drops down to maybe 3-1 or so, yes, there's definitely some value on Brooks. I just don't see Pearson winning this fight. I could be wrong again, because Pearson tends, as an underdog, he tends to show up and prove the odds wrong several times throughout his career. I just don't see it happening this time, though.
Okay, let's move on to the main event, Joanna and Claudia. This one is it's super interesting to see how this one's going to come together. They, of course, on Fight Pass, you can go back in and look at the first time these two fought. Joanna is the champ. Claudia is number one contender. This fight has so many intriguing angles to it. I'm not sure what's going to happen, actually. Sometimes with these fights, and they're so intriguing when you're getting ready, you're watching the build-up from the show, and then the fight actually happens, and you're kind of let down because the fight doesn't live up to all the hype that they're actually putting behind it. I think this fight could actually succeed that amount of hype. I think it's going to be past that hype. It's going to be even better than we think it's going to be. I'm leaning towards a champion, obviously, because Joanna's been seemingly unstoppable at this point. She's gotten better in all of her aspects of her game, including her striking, which is by far the best game that she has. But Claudia's no slouch herself. How does this fight break down, and where are you putting your money?
The first time they fought, Joanna was the underdog, and thankfully she got the W because I was on Joanna at that dog price. I figured it was going to be a competitive fight, and it was. I mean, really, it could have went either way. Different judges sitting in those seats could have scored it for Claudia. I mean, it was that much of a war and that much of a great fight. This time around, I think it's a dog or pass situation as well. Funny thing is, early on, all the bettors were coming in on Joanna in this spot. I mean, they bet her up to over 200, and right now it's come back down to reality. Actually, looking at the line right now, I'll tell you it's minus 130 for Joanna, and Claudia is at plus 110. But a lot of people got a great price, plus 180 mark, plus 190 mark on Claudia early on. So there has been dog action coming back in, which I think is more realistic right now where the price is. I think it is going to be another toss-up type of fight. I think you got to give the slight edge to the champion, Joanna, but I'll tell you what, it is going to be a heck of a fight, and Claudia is going to be hungry. Got to come in with a great game plan. Her striking has improved a lot, I think. She's been working very hard, and a lot of people would knock, I think, her cardio maybe a little bit, if anything. I mean, young Jacek has the ability to go 5 rounds. She's proven that. She's going to be a tough out. Claudia seems to fade a little bit as the fight goes, but I think her work that she's been putting in and her weight cutting, everything's kind of coming together at the right time for her, and I think she's actually going to be peaking here soon as far as her talent and cardio, everything kind of catching up at once, and she's going to show up and give Joanna all she can handle, if not more. So I think she's actually going to win this fight. So I do think that even though it's plus 110, I still think there's value on the dog here, and I think you got to lean towards Claudia because she can get to takedowns even if it's briefly, and she can actually hang a little bit on the feet, obviously, with Joanna as well. So it's not going to be a blowout in any aspect of the fight, and I do like her ground game a little bit better, and I think she can go 5 decent rounds in this fight.
This fight for me is super exciting. I'm really, really excited that this one is the main event on this card. It does bring together the entire card for me. It's one of those weeks, especially with the Fan Expo and, of course, UFC 200 going on the night after, that it's tough to get so many intriguing fights built up all the way through the entire week. And this fight absolutely lives up to the hype. And I think this fight could be the fight of the weekend of all 3 nights. I think this fight could actually pull it off because of there is a real hatred between the two of these. And there is, whether you want to look at editing or want to say, this, that's how she really is, like how you want to play it. Like, Joanna, what's going to happen to the bully when she starts getting bullied back? Because Claudia's going to bully her back inside that cage. She's not going to take anything. Everything she gets, she's going to give right back. So I want to see how Joanna deals with that. I'm still leaning towards a champ. You're saying, obviously the money's on Claudia, and you think that Claudia will win the fight in a straight.
Well, honestly, the action early on was on Joanna. She was getting bet pretty heavy, but I was telling them to be cautious a little bit because there is going to be some dog action coming back in, and it did come back in. So they controlled it. I mean, most of the places I work with were able to control it a little bit and not get too heavy, even though the dog action dropped the line this much. So it's not as bad as it looks. The sports books are going to be fairly even on this fight, as is a lot of these fights. I mean, these are marquee fights, so there's going to be heavy action on both fighters. So it's not going to be too bad overall. Not as bad as it seems out there, at least. So yeah, I do think there's some value. Any dog price. If Joanna was a dog, even money plus 110, you got to lean that way, right? I think it's going to be that type of a fight. Whoever the underdog is probably has value because it's a flip a coin type of fight.
That's Nick Kalikas. I'm Frank Trigg. You're watching Before the Bell here on MMA Oddsbreaker. And this week, we'll see you again tomorrow.